talk about this very important development. 2 days, the lockdowns are eased. Metropolitan Manila public facilities will be more open. What is this going to do for the economy? Second quarter GDP negative. A lot of people think third quarter GDP was negative again because of tight lockdowns. What's the outlook for fourth quarter GDP? Do you expect a significant pickup helped by this step?
Yes, actually, our second quarter GDP grew by over 11%. We expect the third quarter to be lower than that because of the spike in the Delta variant. However, we've seen our cases drop, and we're beginning to open up our economy. However, we still do quarantine. We still quarantine certain areas, depending on the number of cases they have. So it's very, very targeted, and we expect our economy to really start opening up this quarter.
Do you expect to meet the 4 to 5% growth target set by the government earlier this year?
Yes. We're sticking to that growth target, and we think we'll hit it. After all, we hit 11.5% in the second quarter.
So what about inflation? It's a big worry around the world. Is it an increase? Is it a risk to this recovery? And what is the government doing to try to make sure that these high prices don't broaden out and prevent the expansion from broadening out as well?
We've identified the source of our elevated inflation. We are a bit over target this year, and we've identified the cause, and it's the shortage of pork. The effects of the African swine fever are taking its toll on our pork producers, and therefore what we have done was actually ease the quantity restrictions on the imports of pork, as well as lower the tariffs on pork. That has stopped pork prices from increasing. Now, of course, we're facing increasing fuel prices, but our estimates are that our inflation target will hold as long as fuel prices stay below $90 per barrel.
You know, there's been some criticism that the Philippines didn't move quickly enough to maybe solve some problems with the early steps that were taken to contain the virus, including the 1991 law that, decentralized health control, and that made it hard for the federal government to control what was going on out in the villages and in other regions. Any thought by the government now to perhaps change that old law to not have it get in the way again?
Well, basically, right after the virus struck us in March, we came up with a new law that empowers our health department, gives more power to our health department. However, we do still work together with the local governments, and it's been very successful. Our death rate actually is only around 38 per 100,000 population. And that's much lower than other countries like the U.S., Belgium, and similar countries. So we've quite handled the coronavirus death rates.
So you're getting ready, or you've started to issue retail dollar bonds. Now, this is precedent setting. I think that's part of it. That's part of the satisfaction. But do you expect it now to become a substantial vehicle for financing the government?
Well, we decided to issue retail dollar bonds, and we were quite surprised that the uptake was actually 4 times more than we expected. As you know, we have relied mostly on domestic finance for our financial needs. Up to 75% of our borrowings are domestic, and only up to 25% are foreign borrowings. So we decided to open the market for retail dollar bonds. We have a lot of foreign workers who hold dollars, and the banks are giving them very little interest rates. So we decided to give our small depositors a chance at buying retail dollar bonds. You can buy retail dollar bonds for as low in small quantities like $300.
Okay.
And you can buy it on your cell phone.
All right. Well, maybe I'll have to look at my cell phone. In terms of overseas bond sales, though, are you planning any more sales later this year, early next year?
We are looking at a possible issuance of bonds. We issued 3 very successful bonds this year, $3 billion in the U.S. market. We issued $2.5 billion equivalent in euros and around $500 million in the samurai market. All were very well received. Now we are looking at, of course, the 3 items, that we look at always. What are the coupon rates people are willing to take? Number 2, what are the tenors? And that is the most important thing now. We want to stretch our tenors further. And of course, what is the exchange rate risk?
So how about that? What is the exchange rate risk in your mind?
Well, so far, in our case, we have a total of almost 108 billion US dollars in reserves against our total debt of around $100 billion. So we're very comfortable that our foreign exchange reserves will see us through any possible challenge on the peso.
So what is your target debt to GDP ratio? I know it's up around 60 right now. And do you have plans to bring it down, especially at a time when you're just getting ready to borrow, you're ready to spend another almost $1 trillion to get more vaccines for booster shots on top of over $1 trillion earlier this year? How are you working that all out?
Well, in our case, we think that a maximum of 60% the debt to GDP ratio is manageable for us. And we believe that our economy is going to be very robust as soon as the restrictions on mobility are lifted. As you know, we did not lose any of our infrastructure, unlike in a war. We still have a very good population. Average age is 25. They're very well educated. They want to work and are very good workers. In fact, the demand for Filipino workers abroad is still very strong. By the way, from January to July of this year, our foreign remittances, inward remittances from Filipino workers actually increased 6% over last year to over 17 billion pesos, $17 billion this year.
Okay.
So we're very confident that we will emerge from this pandemic in a very good shape.
I want to ask you about the Climate Change Commission, which you head up. Right now, what do you see as your biggest challenge or the biggest contribution the Philippines can make as an archipelago? I imagine you feel pretty exposed to a lot of these climate risks now.
Yes, we are one of the most vulnerable countries in the world. Our policy right now is to assist those communities that will be most affected by climate change, and that is our farming and fishing communities. So we have just revamped our list of experts who are advising us, and we are looking at people who are actually living and working in the different regions, in fisheries, forestry, agriculture, flood control, because we want to engage the local communities in the implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation.
Well, thank you so much.
Climate change adaptation and mitigation.
Certainly another big theme at the IMF World Bank meetings this year. I know you've been participating virtually. Again, I hope we can get together in person in the springtime.